riding roller coasters, or taking a race car for a spin at 90 miles per hour in Las Vegas. She's not a real grown-up. She's a real goofball who never leaves home without her emergency clown nose, and has a killer Irish soda bread recipe, in case you want it. Her speech is titled, Is It Synchronicity, or Coincidence, or Weird Stuff? Please welcome up Marianne Schmitt.
Thank you, everybody. It's great to be back. I was listening to you guys. And have you all ever noticed every time I come up here, I'm carrying a big black bag? I mean, what is up with that? I just never leave home without a bunch of stuff. And there are no noisemakers in there tonight, but I have some homework for you guys. And don't worry, there isn't a test later. And it's really true. I never leave home without the emergency clown nose, because here it is, but I'm not going to wear it tonight. And we've all heard of synchronicity and coincidence. Common threads run through them, and there are elements of randomness and magic in both. When you break them down, they're really very different. In the interest of time, I'm only going to sketch some broad strokes, but it will be enough to give you a sense of the magic that's there. Coincidence is a remarkable set of circumstances that don't appear to be connected. Basic coincidences are the most common, and their effect is on a smaller, short-term scale. It's finding a parking lot near the door when you're running late. It's 6 out of 8 girls showing up at work wearing purple on the same day. And it's getting the last pair of shoes in your size a minute before somebody else asks for them. And that's a true story because it actually happened to me. And synchronicity, on the other hand, is a meaningful coincidence that can be life-altering. It's a series of events that's relevant to our personal evolution or development. It has the potential to completely redirect your life's path or change your perspective. You might say it's coincidence on steroids or kicked up a notch. It's what espresso is to decaf, what a can of Red Bull is to a glass of iced tea. An experience I had in New York City back in 2011 involved events where timing played a critical role. In this case, had any decision I made that day, or even months before, been different, if one thing had happened a minute or two earlier or later, the end result could not have happened. I literally turned around, and standing there with someone whose effect on my life has been the equivalent of dropping a grand piano down an elevator shaft. So it's for this reason I'm going to focus my speech on synchronicity. Now, synchronicity has been referred to as a God wink. A God wink is a sign or a message of reassurance coming when you're most in need of it. Picture yourself at a crossroads in your life, surrounded by instability, doubt, and fear. And then something random yet specific that's a total game changer comes out of nowhere. Or did it? Just last week, I found myself at a crossroads. For the entire month of October, literally from day 1, I had bombs going off in my life right and left. A chain of synchronicity that began on the 13th with a dog's wet nose, led to a tire I thought was bad, but it wasn't, and ended on Halloween with an intriguing book list that would help me decide what path I need to take. And needless to say, I went a little nuts on Amazon again, but I gotta tell you, in addition to books, I highly recommend these movies. You gotta watch Rat Race, because if you've been to Vegas or are planning to go to Vegas, you need to watch this. And I actually had to revise tonight's speech to include all of that because something happened today. And here's the kicker. What triggered the end result, on impulse, I brought my study book to the tire store with me. And that's what triggered the conversation about books that deal with end result of a chain of synchronicity can very likely be an event that completely changes the course of your life or shows you the way. If we pay attention and know how to look, we can spot the signs in our daily lives. The trick is to learn how to sense it while it's happening. One way to spot a change is to pay attention to the odd things that happen to take you out of your regular routine or derail you from something that's planned. These are the signs that magic is afoot. And at some point, the penny's going to drop and you'll see it. It's perfectly natural to dismiss or overlook synchronicity. You'll need patience and persistence to teach yourself how to see that ball in play. It will take you some work, I promise, but it will pay off in the end. Over time, it will become second nature, and you'll be aware of these significant moments as they happen, rather than after the fact. In my own experience, when I look back on my chains of synchronicity, I can recall a sense of time slowing down, a ringing in my ears, and sound becoming muffled, like it is after a snowfall. What I remember most vividly when I'm meeting someone for the first time, who will ultimately have a monumental effect on my life, is that everything around them goes gray, and it creates a frame, and time slows almost to a stop. This mental picture of that first meeting is literally burnt in my mind. And it's always an electrifying experience. It's right up there with sticking a fork in a wall socket. And I've had this happen 5 times. The first 4 people started chains that were a mix of good and bad, with the end result being more of one than the other. And number 5 is the aforementioned piano man, who received an honorable mention in my icebreaker speech. This case is very special, but also difficult to classify. I wouldn't say an epic fail, but more of a not meant to be. At times like that, all you can do is keep you cool, say here's to you, keep calm and carry on, and then just hit the road. And in my case, it was the road back to Florida. But I'll never regret telling him how I feel. However, it took me 4 rides in a row on a roller coaster and taking that race car for a few spins at 90 miles an hour at the Speedway in Las Vegas to find the courage to tell him. But you know what they say, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that we still have to do our own heavy lifting. We have to risk looking foolish, risk that broken heart, and take our lumps, even with synchronicity in our lives. What I mean by that is we must look fear in the face, take the bull by the horns, and just do it. We have to do the thing that scares us. People usually look back and regret the chances they didn't take. And I believe there are no accidents, that everything happens for a reason. I also believe some things don't happen for a reason. Sometimes the reason can be as simple as timing, good or bad. But sad to say, many times we'll never know the reason why. Maybe we're part of somebody else's story. But I really believe coincidence and synchronicity are God's way of making His presence known and letting us know we're not alone. I'm fully aware that this may not be everyone's cup of tea, and there's a real possibility some of you may be thinking on some kind of a coconut and buying into this. But whatever keeps you off the ledge is a good thing, and everybody's got their own way of doing that. Although I have been known to do a few cartwheels out there on the ledge now and again. But at the end of the day, I will be happy if I can open even one mind to a new way of looking at life. And here are a few things I know we can all agree on. Truth can be every bit as strange as fiction. There's some weird stuff out there you just can't make up. The more weird it is, the more attention you should be paying to it. And I tell you what, I am flypaper for weird stuff. And you know, I want to tell you something else. That was supposed to be the end of my speech, but I've got a last minute update. My most recent chain of synchronicity was today at lunchtime. I realized I forgot my speech. I mean, imagine that. You know, I mean, I can ad-lib, but I'm not that good. So I have to drive home to Newport Richie to go get it. And wouldn't you know, the books I ordered on Halloween, the tire store book list had arrived. And this is all in your homework. It's The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah, Jonathan Livingston Seago, and the magic of thinking big. And I also want to give a shout out to my new boss for being so cool about my little brain cloud, because it's not exactly a quick trip, round trip from Tampa to Newport Richey. And thank you very much, and I hope you'll look at strange changes in your schedule a little bit differently. Synchronicity.